before the pitch for you can love New York baseball no matter what shade of blue you are wearing. And hot off the press, we have information about the proposed kind of realignment for the year 2020, and here's what that really looks like. It involves separating everyone based off of their spring training leagues, the Grapefruit League and the Cactus League. And this is fresh, hot off the press, and here are our thoughts about it right now. Now, I've been on board with pretty much every modification that MLB has proposed so far regarding the 2020 season. I understand that in order for us to continue having baseball, we need to have these weird sacrifices, and you're going to have to get used to things being a little bit different for the time being, but that's okay. I've totally been on board for shoving everyone in Arizona and just using spring training fields. I've totally been on board for no crowds. I've totally been on board for World Series in neutral ballparks, indoor ones or warm weather ones. I'm totally fine with that. Even the universal DH, I'm okay with doing that now. But here's two questions I have about this. One, is it even safe to go to Florida? I'm going to proceed on the assumption that it is, because if it wasn't, then this wouldn't become a talking point. But here's my tweak that I would add to this, provided that it's safe to go to Florida, is if you notice, the three big baseball rivalries are all split up. Yankee Red Sox, split up. Cubs and Cardinals, split up. Dodgers and Giants, split up. Here's the problem with that. People aren't coming to watch the game because there could be no crowds. So we are extremely over-reliant on the fact that people are going to be watching games. And you're taking away the legitimacy of the season even more by removing the rivalries that people want to see. It's already a weird season, so you need to give people a reason to still make sure they tune in. And if you get rid of those, I'm not sure how many people are that interested. I'm going to be interested, and diehard fans, hopefully the ones listening to this are going to still be interested. But again, we are already sold on that. We need to talk about everybody else who's watching it. And if you think we don't need to cater to fans, we actually have a video about that over here. We're talking about the importance of bringing in the casual fan. The problem is, here's the thing. I live in Connecticut. We are split right down the middle between Yankees and Red Sox. Actually, we even have a third option. We have the Mets. And here's the thing, even people who don't watch every game make sure they go watch the Yankees and Red Sox. So if you keep the Yankees and Red Sox in separate divisions, even though they're in the same league, but separate divisions, meaning they're non-competitive with each other, you're going to take away the initiative for the average fan to turn on the game, because it's the difference between this. Here's the thing, it's already a weird season. I'm not sure how much I'm going to watch, but the Yankees and Red Sox are playing. I really got to make sure I at least watch that. And this. It's a weird season. I'm not sure how much I'm really going to watch this year. Plus, the Yankees and Red Sox aren't even competing, so what's even the point of turning on, at least for that little bit? The difference between those two guys is one of them is going to turn on the game sometimes, and the other one isn't going to turn on any game at all. And again, these are not people we can afford to lose right now, when the only way we have eyeballs on the game are just the TV, and when no one can actually show up and play. Tampa and Fort Myers are not even 2 hours apart by drive, according to Google Maps. Find a way, baseball, to make sure the Yankees and the Red Sox are still competitive with each other, and they play each other often, and they count against each other. You cannot afford to lose even that little bit that we have to hold on to just to make sure we get people in. It's an avoidable mistake. But we're not the only people who have thoughts about this. James Christopher, our good friend down in Houston, Texas, who is at Let's Get To Podcast, a podcast that you all should be listening to. It's fantastic. He wants to know, this is great, but what happens when July and August come and we're ready to go back to our home stadiums? Are we going to abandon this whole league that we set up and go back, or are we just going to stay here all year? That's a legitimate question that I actually did not think of until he brought that up. Another great guy we know who is the hitter would like to say, it's a shortened season, under 100 games, and they should probably play for the Major League Baseball Classic Championship, not the World Series. I think it's a mix between the two leagues, and it would still be exciting anyway, but at the end of the day, just give me baseball. Another fantastic point is, if it is compromised the season, which it already is, but if it keeps having to be compromised to such a level, at what value is there to calling it the World Series? But you can't just scrap a championship at all because of what is there to play for. So that's another thing. I'm not sure exactly how we answer that. Another great guy, Spencer Schwartz, who you should all be following because he's the only person I've ever met with more hats than me. He says, as someone who's in favor of permanent realignment, if this is executed, it could be served as a barometer to see how fans react to what's going to happen when we kind of turn things on their head. Maybe there are new matchups people are going to like, and that's a fair assessment. You also have to wonder, is this going to be almost diagnostic in some way, not just for that, but for the use of the DH and how people want to perceive that. And really, at the end of the day, we talk about testing a lot of things in minor leagues and in independent leagues. This is the first and quite frankly only time we have to be experimental with good reason at a major league level to kind of test the waters and see what's going to happen. That's all we have for you guys today. Make sure you subscribe and follow us on Twitter. Don't forget to leave a comment below how you think about this, and make sure it gets circulated because we need to really talk about this. There's a lot of difference in opinions. I'm Scott from Before the Pitch because we talk baseball because we know ESPN isn't going to, because they never do.